We have done a bad job teaching leadership. It's no wonder most employees are disengaged. If the same percentage of our customers disengaged from our product, it would be a crisis. We would immediately seek to understand the root cause of how we got it so fundamentally wrong. But as leaders, how much of our time do we spend brainstorming, mapping, diagramming, and countermeasuring this problem compared to product or customer service issues? If we think about it, how many of our product and customer service issues would simply disappear if our employees felt supported enough to care? Fortunately, leadership is a process, and like any process, can be improved. Let's take a look at a team that designed a product better than anything else in existence by an order of magnitude. Seek to understand the foundational thinking patterns that made such a feat possible, and then apply those same patterns to design our future insanely great organizations. Let's go back to 2016 when Tesla Motors was faced with a problem. Despite using the fastest parallel processors in the world, they were still not good enough for what they wanted to do. They assembled an in-house design team, and within 3 years reached volume production of a processor 10 times faster than anything available on the market. How is it possible that an automobile company could outperform the technology leader? It wasn't because they had smarter people. Both companies had some of the best engineers in the world. Instead, it was because Tesla approached the problem in a fundamentally different way. As project manager Jim Keller explained, when designing a new chip, we traditionally start with the current one and optimize from there. Increase the bus speed, more processors per area, etc. Jim's boss, Elon Musk, would ask Jim to take him down to the physics. What do you want the atoms doing? Then scale up from there. By using a first principles mindset, they learned that most of their assumptions, gained from decades of collective experience in their field, were wrong. Although initially painful to the ego, when freed of these erroneous assumptions, they were able to approach the problem in a novel way to achieve something great together. Designing a new organization requires different technical skills than designing a chip. But there is value in understanding the underlying patterns that allowed Jim's team to break free of some of the constraints that would have otherwise prevented them from reaching their true potential. Many of us have been through transformation initiatives, or maybe even led one. Unfortunately, over 70% of organizational transformations fail. What assumptions are baked into the way we do this, and which ones, based on our decades of leadership experience, are wrong? Like the chip engineers, are we design constrained in our approach? Let's take a look at a typical transformation. Internal or external consultants are brought in as subject matter experts. We often begin with some sort of big kickoff. We're taught new jargon and tools and advised to follow a stack of recipes in order to become as great as some benchmark company. Eventually, the momentum plateaus, and we may even notice the beginning of some resistance. Leaders may blame the failure on lack of employee or middle management commitment. They will in turn blame the lack of leadership commitment, which may be the first time they agree with the consultants on anything, who by that point have moved on to transform the next organization. These failures occur despite being led by very smart people doing their best. The problem is not with the intelligence of leaders or of their team members, but rather from a fundamental misunderstanding of how individuals and groups adopt new ways of doing things. If we want different results, we need a different approach. Have we gone down to the physics of learning, of how people are affected by the things we say and do, by the way we lead them? First, let's clear up a common misconception about leadership. We often think of leadership in terms of what is going on in the mind of the leader. This is wrong. Leadership is about building capability in others and happens in the mind of whoever is being taught. This means that in order to understand the fundamentals of leadership, we need to get down to the physics of the mind of the person being taught. What do we want the molecules in their brain doing? What conditions have to exist for that to happen? What conditions stop this from happening? Therefore, understanding the psychological needs of the people you depend on is the foundation of first principles leadership. We've been trained to think of this as a soft skill, implying it is intuitive and natural. But there's hard science at the core of these soft skills that, once understood, can be used to devise techniques that can be honed through deliberate practice, without which we are bound to fall back into our old, unwanted behaviors. According to Robert Doc Hall, not all fundamentals come naturally or are easy to understand. The practice of fundamentals is definitely not elementary. A good golf swing is fundamental also, and superficially, easy to understand. But for most of us, it is neither natural nor easy to learn. As in sports, getting down to the fundamentals of leadership informs how to stop practicing harmful behaviors and begin practicing helpful ones. While you will not be an expert overnight, as you begin to gain proficiency, you will quickly begin asking better questions about how your behavior impacts the people you depend on. For example, is the current interaction building a relationship where they are looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow, or one where they would be happy if they never see you again? Do they feel like they have more or less autonomy? Do they feel like they are respected for what they can learn, or are they feeling disrespected for what they don't know? How well do they feel supported by you and other members of the team? In the future, we would like to take a deeper dive into the fundamentals of what we are most confident is true at the foundational level for people, what we are calling first principles leadership. As we establish a solid foundation and reason up from there, we will discuss a theory of organizational performance. We'll learn how groups adopt new ways of thinking, what behaviors and structures are necessary for creative thinking to thrive, as well as techniques that will allow you to have more impactful and joyful interactions with your team. Perhaps most importantly, as opposed to a 70% failure rate, we are unaware of any transformation that has failed when these principles are followed. Feel free to comment below or reach out to us on firstprinciplesleadership.org. Good luck in your respective journeys, and we hope to see you again.